Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm assuming if you're watching this video that you are either the parent of, the grandparent of, the aunt, the uncle, the teacher, the coach of a child born in 2025, specifically February 2025. It does not matter whether your child is an Aquarius or a Pisces. This video is focused in on the children that are born in February. And basically what I'm going to look at is the outer planets. We're going to touch on the inner planets, the personal planets, as well as the semi-personal planets, the nodes, and Chiron, and how all of this affects your parenting or your guiding of these souls that are coming into this earthly plane as architects of a new earth. Really, they are. And so let's jump in. First of all, let me talk about what the personal planets are. The sun, the I am of the zodiac. The moon, I feel. Mercury is I think. Venus is I belong. And Mars is I act. Basically, those are the traits, how your child will see themselves and the world will see them through the sun. Moon will be how they feel and how they emote. And all of these things will be aspected by other planets. So this is extremely individualistic. But what I'm trying to give you is an overview because there are certain characteristics and traits that will be different than we've seen before. And this is because of the outer planets. The outer planets dictate generations. Uranus takes 8 years to move through a sign. Neptune takes 14 years to move through a sign, and Pluto can take 15 to 20 years to move through a sign. And so they have all changed signs and elements in 2025. And we touched on that in 2024, and we will touch on it solidifying in 2026. When it comes to the semi-personal planets of Jupiter and Saturn, we're looking at planets that contribute to our expansion through our willingness to be disciplined and to be enduring. That's the best way I could put it. February sees the nodes moving into the nodes of the moon are the karmic nodes. They are a karmic signature, and they have just moved into the Pisces and the Virgo axis. The north node being a point of what you're stretching for, what the soul has not familiarity with and is very desirous to experience, where the south node represents a lot of soul's habits. It's almost a default point. It is also a point where we are here to release or to allow to dissipate anything that's toxic, that is not fostering our expansion. Now, I just talked about how I'm not really addressing the sun signs, but I am going about this by the month. But it is important to note that as a Pisces sun, you will have a conjunction or you'll have influence of the North Node in your baby's way of being at some point throughout the month. So, well, not well, we'll have to see, but there is that element going on within that house. So that's very important. We think of the nodes as karmic. So the south node is really representing this, point of potential stagnation, potential loop. And so thereby, it is challenging by nature. Chiron is also part of the mix. And for these children, and actually for quite a few children, even beyond the 2020s, Chiron is in Aries. So there is an inherent wound within each soul born during Chiron's transit in Aries of the self, of the pioneering the self, of the definition of the self, of the exploration of the self, and the potential of being stuck in anger and resentment and in feeling like an invisible hero. And oftentimes, Aries energy is so impulsive that the higher vibrations of Aries are more challenging for the outside world to extract. And that's why when a soul comes in during a Chiron transit in Aries, they are redefining and honing their skills. Aries is ruled by Mars. Mars rules swords, knives, things that you cut with. So we want a really sharp blade in order to cut out that which is not helpful and not to damage healthy tissue here. Okay, so let me talk a little bit first about, let me pull up the chart for February. I'm going to run through just random days in February for the most part, because we start the month on the 1st with the nodes at 28 degrees. There's the North Node in Pisces. Here's the South Node in Virgo. When the nodes are retrograde in a child or a person's natal chart, it's a little bit more of a challenge to get over whatever is holding you back, which can often be the South Node. The South Node is considered a very divine point because it requires sacrifice, but not sacrifice to another human. It's sacrifice to the fear, sacrifice to the human structure that holds me back. The North Node is compelling me into, especially on the Pisces Virgo axis, the North Node is compelling me into connecting with my divinity, my creativity, my transcendence, to know that I am more than this physical experience. Now, when we start the month, we see that the North Node retrograde and the South Node retrograde, we're seeing a dynamic where this is a little bit harder to process, or we're a little bit more stuck because we're in a retrograde. We're reviewing something. So the person born during February and during this 28-degree retrograde, this is considered a Cancerian degree in many ways. The 28th degree, it's a master class degree. The nodes move backwards through a sign where all the other planets move counterclockwise. The nodes move clockwise. So these children and the children born into 2026 are dismantling structures, thought processes, ways of analyzing things, perfectionism, criticism of self and others. All of those bad habits are being asked to be reanalyzed and maybe reframed quite a bit through the North Node's eyes, through compassion, through empathy, and to allow for more of the soul's voice to come forward rather than the mind to spin out. And I say this because Venus's conjunction to the North Node and to Neptune, and the moon is here right now at 12 o'clock on the 1st, but the moon moves very quickly. So we're going to concentrate on these 3 points because it's very, very spiritual. It's very ravenous to feel a sense of my divinity while in the physical experience. And that could be evidenced by these children being able to have musical talents and skills that reveal themselves at a very early age. There is the potential for them to feel all the pains of the earth, all the pains of the people that they are interacting with. So you might be more inclined to be aware of your own emotional body as it could potentially affect your child. We will also see that they are experiencing Uranus at 23 degrees. Now, Uranus was retrograde and moved forward, and it's in a stationed period where it's sitting in the sky. Most people won't know this in the chart unless they go back to look, but Uranus hasn't moved from 23 degrees for quite some time. So it's really sitting here begging to be liberated, to allow visions of the future to move forward and to use the past as the stepping stones into the future. Again, we're looking at master degrees when we're looking at any planets in the 20s. Let me take a quick sip of my drink. Uranus in Taurus is bringing up an environment of rebellion for the past. It's the great awakener. It is the planet of disruption and innovation. It's the planet of human potential. It is the new technological age that is coming upon us. Uranus rules that. So we won't be able to be tethered to structures that won't be able to be sustainable in the future. We're going to see social revolutions coming up as a result of whereas the children who have Uranus in the last degrees of Taurus, and they'll experience this through much of 2025 with a dip into Gemini and then a retrograde back into Taurus. They're going to feel this sort of dynamic of social stagnation and social expansion. They are going to be, in some ways, they'll feel very anchored, and in other ways, they'll feel very shocking. So I almost wonder, depending upon, again, the child's chart, if you have potentially a child who is normally quiet, and then when they open their mouth, they say something so extraordinary or so forward thinking or so psychic that you can't even believe they said it. We have Pluto in Aquarius. It has moved into Aquarius for the first time since, well, in 248 years, since what is my notes? 1778 through 1798, which is just 2 years after the Declaration of Independence. So these kids are here with visions of the future and going to be extremely aware of psychological control that the media has on them, or the potentials for like AI to be mind melding. Mercury moves very quickly. Again, this is the I think, I communicate of the zodiac. The sun is the I am. I'm not necessarily going to address them, otherwise these videos would be incredibly too long. But I do want to bring up that the children born during February, and I believe it's for most of the month, have Mars retrograde in Cancer. Mars retrograde in Cancer is Mars is in fall. It's in its least most favorite place. It has to slow down. It has to be aware of the emotional bodies of other people. It has to reflect on how, it was raised and nurtured and kind of groomed in some ways. And while Mars has the natural nature of fire and impulse, it also can have that impulse exasperated through the Cancerian experience, because when Mars is pulled back too far, it wants to boomerang forward. So children being born with the retrograde Mars in Cancer could potentially find a little bit of a challenge connecting with maternal energies initially. They may have a little trepidation about if they express their more raw impulses, that they will be shunned or unloved. So I would say it's important for those representing the maternal energy for a child to be very aware of this. And kind of, you'll have to walk a fine line between allowing that impulse and then not letting it get too out of control. The dates are all the way for the children born all the way till the 23rd of February. I'm going to go quickly. I'm going to go to the 18th now. And here we see a stellium in Pisces. And what a stellium is, it's where 3 or more personal planets are in one sign or one house. And it really gives a strong flavor, meaning it's dominant. It kind of eclipses other things. So what we'll see is a strong Pisces energy here. We've got the Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Neptune, all in the North Node, obviously, all in Pisces. This could be a child who's very intuitive beyond even what the new world is used to. They could literally traverse between two worlds in their imagination or through astral travel. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. They are sort of, we have Venus in Aries here. And Venus in Aries is not considered in favor, but I think as astrology evolves, we'll see a different story here. So I'd like to think that as the child has this whole group of planets, the I am of the zodiac, the I think of the zodiac, the I endure and I create through my willingness to build that which is only sustainable and sustainable through my belief system here in Pisces, through my willingness to continue beyond my visibility. Now, the North Node is going to make us ravenous here to express ourselves and to express that part of Neptune's creativity that is so magical that it is almost sometimes beyond human comprehension. So these children are going to be super sensitive. And again, we see Mars is still retrograde in Cancer. So we're still seeing the things I was talking about with Mars taking place. And at the same time, while they have all this energy in Pisces that is the spiritual creative one, they will be tasked to manage their South Node in being hypercritical of themselves or being wanting to hide, wanting to let their daily routines become more important than their creative endeavors. So they're going to need to be on some level. I think they're going to, I want to use the word nested, like almost as if I'm creating an environment where it's safe to fail or it's safe to feel unsure or it's safe to have compassion for the challenging dynamics of the world, yet it's still my job to rise above the illusion because that's what Pisces rules is illusion. And I think that's evidenced by Pluto's sextile to Neptune and trine to the South Node. Trine being a favorable, almost effortless aspect, and then a sextile being one that is favorable but requires an awareness and an activation. And here Pluto's again representing that deep psychological grip that we sometimes don't even know we have. Is sometimes it's expressed through people and their money, either they're our clients or they're our partners or they're people that somehow contribute to our well-being. It can also have something to do with sex, having sexual, because Aquarius is actually a very sexual sign, may not be very emotional, but sexual it will be and curious about sex. So there is going to be in these children an awareness of a darkness, but also how the dark serves the light. Because we do see that Neptune is also, not quite yet, but not on this particular day, but Neptune is in general in favor to Uranus. The outer planets are talking in harmony through these changes. They're not always having tight conversations, but they're always fairly cooperative. And the stellium of planets goes till the 28th. And if you have a child that's born on the 27th or the 28th of the month of February, their moon will be in Pisces. And that is going to be a lot of energy that has to do with the divine. This is a child who could potentially literally be a medium, be a channeler of music, be, I see dead people. I don't want to scare any of you parents out there, but I think it'll become more the norm that we know that we are souls inhabiting a physical experience rather than souls that are going to drop dead one day and it's all going to be dark and black. I want to say this too, because those children that are born from the 23rd, I believe it is, 23rd, yeah. We see, well, maybe it's, let's say the 24th. It could be a little later in the day on the 23rd. We're going to see Mars move forward. Mars' period of retrograde in Cancer is a review, a reevaluation, in many ways resting. Moving forward, we're now implementing whatever that rest was. So the children that are born, one child could be born the day after another, but because the planet is retrograde and now has stationed, when it was stationed retrograde, it meant one thing. And as it stations moving forward, it means something different. So with Mars, it's how they take action. Retrograde and stationed could be a real difficult time taking action or stepping up for themselves or even nurturing themselves and taking care of themselves. You'll have the same energy when it goes direct, and it might be slightly easier to course correct, but you're still gonna have a challenge. Now it's going to depend on the aspects. Here on this particular day, we see that Mars is making a favorable trine, an easy aspect to Saturn and Mercury. So potentially the child that's born during this period of time will just need a little bit of aging to move beyond a certain marker in life or to catch up. Maybe it has to do with learning. Maybe it just has to do with discipline and practice of something. And that's where I kind of think to myself, don't let a child with a Pisces stellium be diagnosed too quickly with a learning disorder during this time, because it may not be true. It just may be a foggy time, or they may learn from an intuitive place, not a book learning place. That would be the I think right here and the stellium in Pisces. These are pivotal times, and there are times which we cannot truly look to the past for a path into the future. We can only it's almost like we can see a pile of bricks and those bricks are still viable, but we can't build them brick top brick, mortar, brick, mortar, brick, mortar. We have to do something different with them. And that's what's going to be really indicative of this particular month and the children born during this month. Okay, I'm going to stop my share for now. Again, this is to help you as a parent, as a guide, as a teacher, as a coach, as a spiritual being walking on the planet, working with the children on any level, or the children being born at this time. I hope this helps you come into awareness of some of the ways of being. Again, during a Pisces time, a Pisces season, there is a lot of potential for self-doubt and escapism, or not thinking you're good enough, or being afraid of being visible in some way. And you may think, why would you think that, my child? Why would you, but yet knowing the chart, you can help guide them out by your own example versus trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So I hope that this helped all of you. If you would like to look at your individual chart yourself, your child, your husband, your partner, anybody, we can look at it. We all have these natal charts. I think the children being born now are just the architects of a new earth. And 2025 is one of the most significant years to be born, as is 2026. Anyway, that's me. My name is Teri Hunter. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And thanks for watching. See you soon.